The first time I saw him, he was killing like a man who had already died. Not dramatically, not beautifully, not with the elegant violence old families like to describe in expensive lounges, while pretending blood didn't smell metallic. No, he fought like every wound was an inconvenience, and every heartbeat was borrowed. The abandoned industrial district crouched around us in rusted layers of metal and concrete. Broken pipes ran along the walls like exposed veins. Rainwater dripped from somewhere high above, tapping against the floor in slow, uneven beats. The streetlights outside barely reached this far, throwing cold white strips through cracked windows and across the warehouse floor. And in the middle of it stood an alpha with no pack. That was the first thing I felt. Or rather, the first thing I didn't feel. Usually, wolves had threads, not visible ones. Not unless you were me, and even then, visible was the wrong word. I sensed them the way a musician sensed rhythm before the first note landed. Instincts, bonds, emotional pressure, the tiny unconscious ways one wolf leaned toward another in fear, loyalty, anger, need. A pack had a pulse, even a bad one, even a cruel one. But him? Nothing. He was a silent room, after everyone had left. 5 wolves circled him. 2 alphas, 3 betas, hired muscle, judging by the cheap tactical jackets and the way they kept checking exits instead of each other. They were coordinated, but not bonded. Someone had paid them enough to be brave, and not enough to be smart. The lone alpha moved before they did. He was tall, dark-haired, broad-shouldered, wearing a black coat already torn at the sleeve. Blood ran from a cut above his eyebrow, down the side of his face, along the sharp line of his jaw. His eyes were pale gold in the dim light, cold enough to make the room feel smaller. He dodged a strike, caught the attacker's wrist, and drove his elbow into the man's throat. Efficient, brutal, a little suicidal. I frowned from my very safe, very sensible position behind a rusted support beam. Okay, I muttered to myself. Pretty, violent, and allergic to defensive strategy. Wonderful. One of the betas lunged from behind. The alpha twisted, too late by half a second. A blade cut across his ribs. He didn't flinch, which was impressive, stupid, or both. He kicked the attacker back, but another wolf came in from the left. Too many angles, too much blood loss, too much pride. I reached for him with my ability not to control him. I couldn't do that. Despite what paranoid alphas like to imagine, betas with rare gifts weren't waiting in alleys to puppet them into embarrassing dance routines. I synchronized. I aligned reaction, breath, timing. I could take a group of frightened wolves and make them move like they had trained together for years. I could smooth panic into rhythm. I could make a pack stronger than the sum of its damaged parts. I brushed against the lone alpha's instincts and hit emptiness. My breath caught. There was no rhythm to catch, no bond to amplify, no echo, no thread, no pack memory wrapped around his bones. For the first time in my life, my power found nothing to hold. The alpha staggered, just slightly. The attacking wolves noticed. So did I. Oh, I hate this, I whispered. Then I stepped out from behind the beam. Nobody noticed me at first, which was the great tragedy and occasional blessing of being a beta. Alphas entered rooms and made the air rearrange itself. Omegas had presence whether people admitted it or not. Betas were expected to be useful, quiet, and preferably holding a clipboard. I had no clipboard. I did have a talent for ruining plans. I couldn't synchronize the alpha, so I reached for the attackers instead. Their rhythm was crude, but present. Aggression, greed, fear, command. I slipped into the spaces between them and pulled, not together, apart. The first alpha swung too early. The beta beside him stepped too late. A third attacker misread the movement and slammed shoulder first into his own teammate. Their formation collapsed like a badly stacked shelf. The lone alpha reacted instantly. Of course he did. He wasn't connected, but he was terrifyingly good. He used the opening with savage precision. One wolf hit the concrete. Another crashed into a rusted machine with a shout. The remaining 3 tried to recover, but I kept tugging their timing half a beat off. Nothing dramatic, just enough. A missed step, a delayed breath, a hand reaching where a throat had been. In less than a minute, the warehouse went quiet, except for dripping water and several men groaning on the floor. I exhaled. Well, I said, mostly to myself, that was either a good deed or the worst job interview of my life. The Alpha turned, his gold eyes fixed on me. Every reasonable instinct in my body suggested I should smile, wave, and leave immediately. Unfortunately, I had never been fully controlled by reasonable instincts. Hi, I said. Before you do anything aggressive, I'd like to establish that I was helpful. He crossed the distance between us so fast I barely had time to regret my personality. 1 second, he was 10 feet away. The next, his hand was around my throat, and my back hit the cold metal beam hard enough to rattle my teeth. Pain flashed down my spine. His grip didn't crush. Not yet. That was almost worse. It meant control. It meant choice. You just interfered in my kill, he said. His voice was low, rough, and entirely lacking appreciation. I swallowed against his palm. You were about to die, I said. I saved you. You're welcome. His eyes narrowed. Up close, he looked worse. Not weaker, never that, but damaged in ways blood couldn't explain. There were shadows under his eyes, tension carved into his mouth, and something hollow behind the violence. A ruin, pretending it was a weapon. I didn't ask for saving, he said. People bleeding from 3 places rarely fill out request forms. His grip tightened a fraction. I lifted one hand slowly. For the record, killing me would be bad manners. For the record, he said, I don't have manners. Shocking. I never would have guessed. For one breath, silence stretched between us. Then, to my surprise, his mouth twitched. Not a smile, more like his face remembered the concept and rejected it. What are you? He asked. Nick Hale, Beta, occasional problem, professional disappointment to arrogant people. That wasn't an answer. It was several answers. You just didn't like them. His gaze sharpened. You disrupted them. Yes. How? Carefully. Nick, the way he said my name should not have done anything to my nervous system. It did anyway. Annoying. I sighed. I synchronize wolves. Usually I strengthen pack coordination. Reactions, instincts, emotional balance, that sort of thing. His expression closed. You're a binder. No, I said quickly. Binders force bonds. I don't. I align what's already there. There's nothing here. I noticed. His hand dropped from my throat. I pulled in air, resisting the urge to rub my neck because I had pride and apparently a mild death wish. You don't have a pack, I said. The temperature seemed to fall. The wolves on the floor went very still, like even unconscious men knew when a dangerous subject had entered the room. The Alpha stared at me. What did you say? I should have stopped. I did not. You don't have a pack, I repeated, softer this time. Not even a broken bond. Not even a scar from one. Just absence. Jaw flexed. For a moment, I thought he might hit me. Instead, he turned away. That's not your concern. No, I agreed, but it is interesting. I'm not here to entertain you. Good. Because your current act is very depressing. He looked back at me slowly. I smiled. Not because I was relaxed, because my survival instincts had apparently packed up and moved to another state. What do you want? He asked. There it was. The opening, the stupid, impossible idea that had dragged me into this warehouse in the first place. I had heard rumors about Kai Varen for months. The Alpha who survived the fall of the Varen pack, the ghost wolf, the one who walked through hostile territories alone and left fear behind him like footprints. I had expected power. I had not expected emptiness, and maybe that was why I said it. Let's build a pack. He stared at me. Then he laughed. It was not a warm sound. It was broken glass under a boot. No, you didn't even consider it. I considered it before you finished speaking. That's not considering, that's emotional constipation. His eyes flashed. I pointed at him. See? That reaction? Very unhealthy. He stepped closer again, but this time he didn't grab me. Packs get you killed, he said. There was no drama in his voice now. No threat. Just fact. And underneath it, grief so deep, my power brushed against it and recoiled. For the first time that night, I stopped joking. The warehouse felt colder. The rusted walls, the broken machines, the bodies on the floor, all of it faded around the shape of his loss. I didn't know what had happened to him, but I knew what it had left behind. A man who had cut every thread before it could strangle him again. I held his gaze. Only if they're built wrong. Something moved in his expression. Not hope, not trust. Something smaller, recognition maybe, or irritation that I hadn't backed down. My answer is no, he said. Good, I replied. His brow tightened. Good? Yeah. I don't trust people who say yes too easily. I'm not changing my mind. Probably not tonight. His eyes narrowed again. You're persistent. I've been called worse. I can imagine. Rude, but fair. He turned toward the warehouse exit, coat shifting over his injured side. He was still bleeding, still standing like pain was a rumor beneath him. At the doorway, he paused. Kai Varen, he said without looking back. I blinked, then smiled, despite myself. Was that an introduction? That was a warning. Great, I love those. Very romantic. He glanced over his shoulder, gold eyes catching the cold light. Follow me, Nick Hale, and I'll assume you have a death wish. I looked at the unconscious wolves, the blood on the floor, the empty space where his pack should have been. Then I stepped after him. Honestly, I said. That's the nicest invitation I've had all week. Kai walked into the rain without waiting. I followed, because some wolves were born into packs. Some were chosen, and some, apparently, had to be annoyed into one. The rain didn't let up. It followed us out of the warehouse like it had opinions. Cold, steady, persistent. The kind of rain that soaked through fabric slowly, methodically, until you couldn't remember what dry felt like. Kai didn't slow down. He moved through the empty streets, like the city belonged to him, boots splashing through shallow puddles, coat darkening with blood and water. Neon signs flickered above shuttered storefronts, casting brief flashes of color across his face. Blue, red, violet. None of them soft enough to hide the edges of him. I kept pace beside him, hands in my pockets, trying very hard not to think about the fact that I had voluntarily attached myself to a homicidal stranger with emotional issues and excellent reflexes. Just so we're clear, I said, stepping over a cracked piece of concrete, this is not stalking. This is proactive networking. You're still here, Kai replied, without looking at me. Observation skills. Impressive. You should leave. And miss this? I gestured vaguely at the dark street, the broken lights, the general atmosphere of poor life choices. Absolutely not. He stopped. I almost walked into him. He turned, eyes sharp in the dim light. You don't get it. That's very possible, I said. Try explaining. I'm a fast learner. I don't do partners. I didn't say partners. I don't do packs. I definitely said pack. His jaw tightened. Then you're wasting your time. I tilted my head. And yet, you haven't walked away. Something flickered in his expression. Annoyance, maybe. Or the uncomfortable awareness that I wasn't entirely wrong. Where are we going? I asked. Nowhere. You need to be. Good. I like exclusive locations. He exhaled sharply through his nose and started moving again. I followed. Of course I did. The city changed the deeper we went. The clean lines of glass buildings and polished streets gave way to narrower alleys, dimmer lights, and a different kind of quiet. Not peaceful, watchful. This was where wolves moved when they didn't want to be seen. Underground bars with no signs, backroom clinics that didn't ask questions, territories that weren't officially claimed but were understood. I could feel it in the air, not a pack, not one cohesive system, but fragments, small groups, loose alliances, predators, circling, without committing. My ability brushed against them instinctively. Threads, thin, scattered, unstable, nothing like what I could build. Kai led us into an alley that smelled faintly of oil and old smoke. A metal door sat halfway down, unmarked, except for a dent near the handle. He pushed it open. Inside, the lighting was dim and yellow. A narrow staircase led down. The walls were concrete, stained and cracked. The air warmer but heavier. Temporary shelter, functional, hidden, replaceable. Of course it was. Kai shrugged off his coat as we reached the bottom, revealing the full extent of the damage. The cut along his ribs was deeper than I'd thought. Blood had soaked into his shirt, dark and spreading. "Wow," I said. "You really commit to your aesthetic." He ignored me, crossing to a metal table and grabbing a first aid kit. "You're bleeding," I added helpfully. "I noticed." "Good. Just checking." He tore open his shirt without hesitation. I looked away for exactly 1 second, then looked back. "Because I'm not a liar. Do you always treat injuries like they're a mild inconvenience?" I asked. "Yes." "Cool. That's healthy, definitely sustainable." He cleaned the wound with brutal efficiency. No hesitation, no wasted movement, just control. Too much control. "You should sit," I said. "I'm fine." "You're about 3 minutes away from not being fine. I've been worse." "That is not the comforting statement you think it is." He didn't respond, which, in fairness, was his default setting. I leaned against the wall, watching him work, and thinking he was alone. Not just physically, structurally. There were no emotional threads anchored to him, no instinctive pull toward anyone else, no subconscious adjustments to match a pack's rhythm. He moved entirely on his own timing, which made him strong and incredibly easy to kill. "You're going to get ambushed again," I said. He didn't look up. "Probably. And you're just okay with that?" "Yes." I pushed off the wall. "That's not confidence. That's resignation." His hand paused for half a second, then continued, "Leave, Nick. Make me." That got his attention. He looked up slowly, eyes narrowing. "You really don't understand what you're doing. Enlighten me. You're attaching yourself to something that doesn't last." I smiled faintly. "You mean you?" Silence. Then, quietly, "Yes." For a second, I almost let it go. Almost. But I'd seen too much. Felt too much of the absence inside him. "That's the problem," I said. "You think you're inevitable." "I am." "No," I said softly. "You're alone." The room went very still. Then, a sound above us. Footsteps. Multiple. Kai's head snapped toward the stairs. Mine followed. "Well, that was fast. Friends of yours?" I asked. "No." "Great. Mine neither." Open. Voices. Low. Controlled. Not drunk. Not careless. Organized. Kai stood, ignoring the fresh line of blood that slid down his side. "Stay back," he said. I blinked. "That's adorable." The first wolf appeared at the top of the stairs, then another, and another. This time, better equipped, better coordinated, not amateurs. Kai stepped forward. Of course he did. I sighed. "All right," I muttered. "Round 2. The first attacker moved. Fast. Kai met him head-on, blocking the strike, twisting, countering with a sharp elbow that forced the man back. The second wolf came in from the side. Kai pivoted, and this time, he was just a fraction too slow. Not much, but enough. I felt it. That tiny misalignment. That half-beat delay. He was compensating for blood loss, for pain, for fatigue. He wasn't failing. He was slipping. I stepped forward. "Don't," Kai snapped. Too late. I reached for him again, and again. Nothing. Empty. No thread. No bond. No entry point. My teeth clenched. "Fine," I muttered. "We'll do this the hard way." I shifted focus. Not to connect, To align, I locked onto his movement instead of his instincts. His breathing pattern, the angle of his shoulders, the micro adjustments he made between attacks. Then, I pushed, just a little, not control, just correction. Kai ducked, earlier than he should have. The attack missed. His counterstrike landed clean. He froze for a split second, then moved again, faster, sharper, cleaner. The second attacker lunged. Kai sidestepped before the motion fully committed, grabbing his arm, using the momentum to slam him into the wall. The third wolf hesitated. Kai didn't. Within seconds, it was over. 3 bodies on the ground. Silence. Heavy breathing. Dripping water. Kai turned slowly. His gaze locked onto me. Something had changed. Not trust. Definitely not trust. But awareness. You did something, he said. I raised both hands slightly. Relax. I didn't take control. I just lined things up. His eyes narrowed. You moved before I did. I adjusted timing. That's all. That's not nothing. No, I agreed. It's not. He took a step toward me. Slow, measured, dangerous. I don't need help. And yet, I said lightly, you keep benefiting from it. I didn't ask for it. You also didn't refuse it mid-fight. Silence stretched between us. Tension, sharp and electric. You're interfering, he said. I'm improving outcomes. You're making me dependent. That landed, harder than anything else he'd said. For a second, I didn't joke, didn't deflect, because that was the real fear. Not weakness, not failure. Dependence. I tilted my head, studying him. You really think that? I asked. Yes. Then you don't understand how this works. Explain. I don't replace your strength, I said. I amplify what's already there. If you walk away, you're still you. I just make things clearer while I'm here. His gaze searched mine, like he was looking for the lie. I don't need clarity, he said finally. Everyone does. I don't, okay? I said. Then consider it a temporary upgrade. I'm not a system. Debatable. His mouth twitched again. There it was. That almost smile. Gone as quickly as it appeared. You're staying, he said. It wasn't a question. Seems like it. Why? I thought about that for a second, then shrugged. Because you're interesting. That's not a good reason. It's the best one I've got. He studied me, long enough to be uncomfortable. Then, betas don't lead, he said. I smiled. Good, I replied. Because I'm not leading. I stepped closer, close enough to feel the heat of him, the tension, the sharp edge of something that refused to bend. I'm building something, I said quietly. You can be part of it. His eyes darkened. Or you can keep bleeding alone in abandoned buildings, I said. Your call. Silence. Then, temporary, he said. I blinked. What? This, he gestured between us. You. Staying. It's temporary. I grinned. Everything is. His gaze lingered on me for one more second. Then he turned away. Get some rest, he said. I leaned against the wall again, folding my arms. Wow, I said. Is that concern I hear? No. Tragic. I was hoping for emotional growth. Sleep. Nick. I closed my eyes, still smiling. Yeah, he hated the idea of dependence. And I couldn't exist without connection. This was going to go very badly, or very right. Either way, I wasn't leaving. Kai's idea of recruiting was, apparently, standing in a doorway looking murderous until people made poor decisions. Mine was slightly more nuanced. Try not to threaten him in the first 30 seconds, I said. Kai looked at me. I wasn't planning to. You were breathing like you were planning to. That's just my face. Your face has legal consequences. We stood outside a half-collapsed apartment building on the east edge of the abandoned district. The upper floors leaned at an angle that suggested the architect had lost an argument with gravity. Windows were broken. Walls were tagged with old pack symbols, all crossed out. Rainwater gathered in the cracks of the concrete steps. It looked empty. It wasn't. I could feel someone inside. Not a pack. Not exactly. One thread, coiled tight around itself. Cold. Sharp. Defensive. Omega. But not fragile. Never fragile. Liam Cross lived in the kind of silence that had teeth. Kai pushed the door open without knocking. I sighed. Yes. Excellent. Very charming. Inside, dust floated through strips of gray morning light. The lobby smelled of damp concrete and old smoke. Somewhere above us, something creaked. Then a voice said, "2 more steps and the floor gives out." Kai stopped. I stopped faster. A young man sat on the remains of the second-floor landing. One leg crossed over the other, pale fingers resting on a tablet. He had silver blonde hair cut neatly at his jaw, a thin face, and eyes so calm they felt almost surgical. Liam Cross, former strategy advisor to the Red Marsh Pack, exiled for insubordination, which usually meant he had been smarter than someone important and made the mistake of proving it out loud. Kai looked down at the floor. I did too. The cracked tiles in front of us had been loosened. Underneath, metal spikes gleamed faintly. I blinked. "Okay," I said. "That's rude, but effective." Liam's gaze moved to me, Nick Hale, usually, and Kai Varon. His eyes shifted to Kai, the dead alpha walking. Kai's expression didn't change, but the air sharpened. I stepped slightly between them. Not because I thought I could physically stop Kai if he decided to attack. I was optimistic, not delusional. "We're here to talk," I said. Liam glanced at Kai. "He doesn't look like he talks." He does. Mostly in threats and emotional repression, but we're working on it. Kai's eyes flicked to me. I smiled pleasantly. Liam watched us with faint interest. "You want something?" "Yes," I said. "No," Kai said at the same time. I looked at him. "We discussed this. You discussed this." I listened under protest. "That's still participation." Liam set the tablet aside. "What do you want?" "A pack," I said. For the first time, Liam's expression shifted. Not surprise. Disgust. "No, you haven't heard the details." I heard the word. Kai gave a quiet huff, almost amused. "Smart Omega." Liam's stare turned glacial. "Call me that again, and I'll show you what the second floor is rigged with." Kai's mouth curved. Oh no. He liked him. This was already a problem. "I'm not asking you to submit," I said quickly. "No alpha command structure. No forced bonds. No hierarchy games." Liam looked at me like I had offered him a polite cup of poison. "All packs are hierarchy games. Bad ones. That's what bad packs say." "Fair." Kai stepped forward. I grabbed his sleeve. He looked down at my hand. I did not release it. "I had a pack," Kai said, voice low. "You don't know what you're talking about." Liam's eyes sharpened. "And where are they now?" The room went still. Kai moved. Not far, not fast enough to attack, but enough that the fragile balance snapped. Liam's hand slid towards something hidden under the railing. My power surged on instinct. No. Not a full synchronization, just a bridge. A thread. 1 second. Kai's grief hit Liam like a silent explosion. Liam's fear hit Kai in return. I felt both through the edge of the connection. Liam's memory of being cornered by his own pack. Calm face hiding panic so deep it had become architecture. Kai's emptiness. A field after fire. Ash where loyalty used to be. They both flinched. Kai stepped back first. Liam's hand froze. His face had gone pale. "What?" he said quietly. "Was that?" I let the bridge drop immediately. My heart was pounding. That was me making a very questionable choice. Kai turned on me. "Don't do that again." "I know, Nick, I know." His anger wasn't loud. That made it worse. Liam stared between us, breathing carefully. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then Liam said, "You didn't force the emotion." "No," I said. I opened a window. A tiny one. Kai's jaw worked like he was grinding down several violent opinions. Liam looked at him again. This time, not as an alpha, Not as a threat, as a wound. I'm not joining him, Liam said. I exhaled. Good. Both of them looked at me. I shrugged. You're joining me. Liam blinked once. Then, slowly, he smiled. It was not a warm smile. It was the kind of smile that made enemies check their bank accounts and escape routes. Interesting, he said. Kai muttered, terrible. I beamed. That's one. Reyna found us before we found her. Specifically, she kicked Kai through a rusted door, which, in fairness, made a strong first impression. The door exploded inward with a metallic shriek. Kai hit the ground, rolled, and came up in a crouch, eyes bright with fury. A woman stepped through after him, broad-shouldered, dark-skinned, hair shaved on one side and braided on the other. She wore a sleeveless jacket, combat boots, and the expression of someone who had never apologized in her life and considered that a personality strength. Your alpha walked into my perimeter, she said. Kai stood slowly. Your perimeter is 3 trash cans and a tripwire. And yet, you tripped it. Liam, from beside me, murmured, I like her. I'm starting to worry about your standards, I said. Reyna Vale was a beta like me, though nobody would have mistaken us for the same species in a dark alley. She was all direct impact, instinctive violence, and zero patience for authority. When I explained the pack idea, she laughed in my face. A full, honest laugh. No. You and Liam should start a club, I said. I don't do packs. Because? Because alphas give orders, omegas get protected, betas get used, and everyone pretends it's nature instead of lazy politics. I pointed at her. See? This is why I wanted you. Kai looked at me. You wanted her? She punched you through a door. Obviously. Reyna's eyes narrowed. You're weird. Frequently. She crossed her arms. Who leads? No one. Liar. Fine. Everyone leads when they're right. That made her pause. Liam studied me. Silent, but attentive. Kai watched too, though he pretended not to. Reyna looked at Kai. And him? He's decorative, I said. Kai's head turned slowly. Dangerously decorative, I amended. Reyna smiled. I'll stay for 1 day. Great. If anyone tries to command me, I break their jaw. Healthy boundary. Kai muttered. This is not a pack. Correct, I said. It's a disaster with potential. Daniel came at dusk, not with violence, with a white flag, literally. He stepped into the abandoned lot behind our temporary shelter, holding a torn white cloth tied to a pipe. Tall, broad, alpha-born, with tired brown eyes and a face that looked like it had forgotten how to rest. Kai recognized him first. Daniel Rowe. Daniel stopped several feet away. Kai. Their voices held history. Not friendship. Not exactly. Recognition from old battlefields. Liam stiffened beside me. Reyna rolled her shoulders, ready for trouble. Daniel raised both hands. I'm not here to fight. Kai's gaze dropped briefly to the white cloth. Clearly, I heard you were gathering strays. We prefer emotionally complicated assets, I said. Daniel looked at me. I waved. Nick. His mouth twitched faintly. I heard about you too. Good things? Confusing things. That's my brand. Daniel had been exiled from the Blackridge Pack for refusing to execute an Omega accused of betraying them. Later, evidence proved the Omega had been framed. By then, Daniel had already been stripped of rank, name, and territory. He didn't speak like a broken man. That would have been easier. He spoke like someone who had chosen his conscience and paid for it in full. I won't follow an alpha blindly again, Daniel said. Kai's face hardened. Then don't. Daniel looked at him. Something passed between them. A strange understanding. Not soft, not warm, but honest. By nightfall we had 5 people in a ruined shelter with 1 working light, 3 blankets, a questionable water supply, and enough unresolved trauma to power a small city, so naturally I decided it was time for our first group synchronization. Liam stared at me. That is a terrible idea. Probably. Reyna cracked her knuckles. What happens if it goes wrong? Headache? Nosebleed? Emotional discomfort? Daniel frowned. For whom? I smiled. Nobody smiled back. Kai stood near the wall, arms folded. Don't. I looked at him. We need to know if this can work. We don't need anything. That's your trauma talking. That's my experience talking. Sometimes they share a microphone. His eyes narrowed. I turned to the others before we could turn flirting into warfare. Close your eyes if you want, I said. Or don't. I'm not forcing the connection. I'll reach. You decide whether to answer. Liam's gaze sharpened at that. Choice mattered to him. Good. I breathed in, reached out. First Liam. Cold precision. Fear buried under calculation. Then Raina. Fire. Impatience. A heartbeat. Like a drum. Daniel. Guilt. Steady moral weight. Pain held carefully so it wouldn't spill. Kai. Emptiness. Still. Always. But this time, I didn't try to enter it. I built around it. A circle, not a chain. My power threaded between us, tentative and bright. For one glorious second, it worked. I felt Raina's balance settle into Daniel's steadiness. Liam's awareness spread through the room like a map. My own timing aligned with theirs, breath to breath, pulse to pulse. Then Kai's pain spiked. The wound in his side. The connection caught it, shared it. Raina hissed. Daniel grabbed his ribs. Liam doubled over. One hand braced against the wall. I gasped as the pain hit me too. Hot and sharp. Kai's eyes widened. Not from his own injury. From ours. Stop, he snapped. I cut the connection. The room fractured back into individuals. Raina cursed under her breath. Daniel sank onto a crate. Liam was pale but watching me with frightening intensity. Kai crossed the room and grabbed my arm. Not my throat this time. Progress. Never share my pain again, he said. I didn't mean to. That doesn't make it safer. No, I admitted, still breathing hard. It doesn't. Liam straightened slowly. But it worked. Kai turned on him. It hurt everyone. It also connected everyone. Raina rubbed her ribs. I hate to agree with the creepy genius, but yeah. For a second, I knew where all of you were without looking. Daniel nodded. I felt it too. Kai's grip tightened on my arm. This isn't how packs work. I looked up at him. His face was close, angry, afraid, though he would rather choke on glass than call it that. I should have been careful. Instead, I smiled. Good, I said. That's the point. For a moment, no one moved. Outside, wind pushed through broken metal and made the building groan around us. We were not a pack, not yet. We were 5 damaged wolves standing in a ruin, bleeding into the same silence, pretending none of us wanted this too badly. But underneath the pain, underneath the fear, I had felt it. A rhythm, small, unstable, alive. And for the first time since I met Kai Varen, the emptiness around him didn't feel endless. It felt like space, waiting to be chosen. By morning, the building felt too small. Not physically, we still had cracked walls, one flickering light, and exactly 0 privacy. But something about the air had changed. It carried too many edges now. Too many people adjusting to each other, measuring distance, deciding where not to step. 5 wolves in a space that wasn't meant for one. Congratulations, Raina said, kicking a broken chair aside. We've officially outgrown this dump. It has charm, I said. It has mold, character, diseases. Kai leaned against the wall near the door, arms crossed, watching all of us like we were a problem he hadn't decided how to solve yet. Liam sat on a crate with his tablet again, already mapping something I couldn't see. Daniel stood near the window, shoulders tense, scanning the outside like he expected something to come through it at any moment. They weren't wrong. We need territory, I said. Kai didn't look at me. We don't need anything. We need space. Structure. A place that's ours. There is no ours. There could be. He exhaled, slow and controlled. Territory attracts attention. So does bleeding out in alleys, I said. Raina snorted. He's got a point. Kai ignored her. Liam spoke without looking up. There's a sector 2 blocks east. Old logistics yard. No current ownership. No stable pack presence for the last year. Daniel frowned. There's a reason for that. Several, Liam said. Structural instability. Bad access points. No clear perimeter. I smiled. Perfect. Kai finally looked at me. You're serious? Completely. That's a terrible location. Exactly. Reyna grinned. I like him. Kai pushed off the wall. If we take it, we'll have to defend it. I met his gaze. Then we defend it. Silence. Something shifted between us. Not agreement. Not yet. But not refusal either. Fine. He said. We look. The logistics yard was worse than expected. And that was saying something. Rusting cargo containers leaned against each other like exhausted giants. The main structure, a half-collapsed warehouse, sat at the center, its roof partially caved in. Broken fencing marked what used to be a perimeter, now full of gaps and blind spots. Water pooled in uneven patches across the ground. The air smelled like oil, rain, and neglect. Charming, I said. Unlivable. Kai replied. Undervalued. Liam stepped forward, scanning the space. Multiple approach routes. High visibility from the north side. Poor elevation advantage. Reyna cracked her neck. Translation. Easy to get jumped. Daniel nodded. We'd need constant watch. I turned slowly, taking it in, feeling it. Not the space. The potential. There were no pack threads here. No established rhythm. No existing system to fight against or conform to. It was empty, clean, a blank page. This works, I said. Kai looked at me like I had suggested we live in a fire. No, he said. Yes. No. Yes. Reyna raised a hand. I vote yes. It's terrible. That means no one else wants it. Liam nodded slightly. Strategically, that has merit. Daniel hesitated. We could make it defensible. With effort. Kai stared at all of us, then at me. You're not listening. I am, I said. You're just wrong. His eyes narrowed. You don't take territory like this, he said. You don't hold it without a pack structure. Good thing we're not doing that. He stepped closer. You don't understand the risk. I stepped closer too. I understand it perfectly, I said quietly, and I'm choosing it anyway. For a second, the world narrowed to just us. Rain, rust, breathing. Then, footsteps. Multiple. Liam's head snapped up. We're not alone. Of course we weren't. 3 wolves stepped out from between the containers. Then, 2 more. Then, more behind them. A pack, not large, but organized. Tight formation. Clear hierarchy. Their alpha stepped forward. Tall, broad, smiling like this was already his. Well, he said, glancing around the yard. Looks like someone's confused about ownership. Kai moved slightly ahead of us. Instinct. Position. I felt it immediately. The pull of old patterns. Alpha in front. Others behind. Hierarchy. Trying to rebuild itself from memory. No, not this time. The opposing alpha's gaze landed on Kai. Varen. Kai's expression didn't change. You know me. Hard not to, the alpha said. You're the one who lost everything. Silence dropped, like a blade. Reyna shifted. Daniel's shoulders tightened. Liam went very still. I stepped forward. Hi, I said. We're busy claiming this place. You can leave now. The alpha blinked, then laughed. Oh, that's adorable. The beta speaks. Kai's body went rigid. There it was again, the system trying to snap into place. I reached out, not to Kai, to all of them. I didn't build a chain. I built alignment, breath, timing, movement. Don't, Kai said under his breath. Trust me, I murmured. I don't. Try it anyway. The opposing alpha gestured. His wolves spread slightly, preparing to surround. Classic tactic. Predictable. I felt my pack. Not a pack. Not yet. My people. I caught Reyna's rhythm first. Fast, aggressive, matched it to Daniel's steadiness. Wove Liam's awareness through both. Then, Kai, still empty, still unreachable. So I didn't reach. I adjusted everything around him. Now, I said softly, they moved. All of them. At the same time, Reyna hit the left flank before the opposing wolves finished stepping into position. Daniel intercepted a strike, aimed at Liam without needing to look. Liam shifted just enough to avoid a grab he hadn't physically seen. Kai moved like he always did. Perfect. Lethal. But now, everything around him matched. No interference. No hesitation. No one in his way. The enemy pack faltered. Their formation broke before it fully formed. They weren't slow. They weren't weak. They were out of sync. Their alpha barked a command. Too late. Reyna was already inside their guard. Daniel held the center. Liam moved through openings like he had drawn them in advance. And Kai have to compensate. For the first time since I met him, he didn't have to fight alone. It showed he was faster. Not because I changed him, because nothing was dragging him down. The fight didn't last long. It couldn't. They tried to regroup, to reassert hierarchy, to force order, but we weren't following rules they understood. Within minutes, they were backing off, retreating, confused. The alpha stared at us, breathing hard. What the hell was that? He demanded. I smiled. Bad timing. He looked at Kai again, then at the rest of us. Then he shook his head, backing away. This place isn't worth it, he muttered. They left, just like that. Silence returned to the yard, broken only by rain. Reyna let out a sharp laugh. Okay, that was fun. Daniel exhaled slowly. That worked. Liam was watching me, not with suspicion now, with interest. Kai was looking at me, not angry, not defensive, something else. What did you do? He asked. I shrugged lightly, same as before. Just bigger. That wasn't normal. No, I said. It wasn't. He stepped closer, searching my face like the answer might be written there. They couldn't read us, he said, because we're not predictable. They couldn't coordinate, because we broke their rhythm. He went quiet, processing, replaying, understanding. Slowly, Reyna kicked a piece of metal aside. So, we keeping this place, or what? I looked around the yard, the broken structures, the open space, the absence of anything that told us who we had to be. Then, I looked at Kai. This could be ours, I said. He followed my gaze. For a long moment, he didn't speak. Then, it's a terrible location, he said. I grinned. I know. A pause. Then, quieter. We'll need to fix the perimeter. Something warm settled in my chest. Not victory. Not yet, but close. Yeah, I said. We will. Kai nodded once. Not as an alpha. Not as a leader. As part of something he didn't fully understand yet, and maybe didn't trust, but didn't walk away from either. That was enough. For now, because territory wasn't land. It wasn't walls or borders or lines on a map. Territory was presence, choice, the decision to stay, and for the first time, he did. Night settled over the yard like it had been waiting for us to claim it. By the time the sky went fully dark, the place had changed. Not cleaner, not safer, not even quieter. But lived in. Reyna had dragged metal sheets into something resembling a barrier. Daniel reinforced weak points in the fence with whatever scraps he could find. Liam mapped blind spots and sightlines, muttering to himself as he adjusted routes we hadn't even agreed to use yet. Kai didn't give orders. He didn't need to. He moved, checked, rechecked, shifted a container 2 inches because it blocked an angle he didn't like, stopped once, pressed his hand briefly against his ribs, then kept going like pain was a suggestion he intended to ignore. And me? I watched, felt. The threads were still fragile. Not a pack. God, not even close. But something was forming. Something hesitant. Uneven. Alive. We didn't talk about it, which, in this group, counted as emotional restraint. Perimeter's garbage, Reyna said, hopping down from a container. Anyone determined gets through. Anyone determined always gets through. Liam replied. The question is whether they leave. Optimistic, Daniel muttered. Kai glanced toward the northern edge. We set rotation. I'll take first watch, Daniel said. I'll take second, Reyna added. Liam didn't look up. I don't sleep. That's concerning, I said. That's efficient. Kai's gaze shifted to me. You rest. I blinked. Wow. Concern again. I'm collecting these. It's not concern. Of course not. I leaned back against a container anyway, folding my arms. I'll rest, I said. But if something comes, I'll handle it. Kai cut in. There it was again. That quiet certainty. That need to stand alone at the center of everything. I didn't argue. Not yet. I didn't fall asleep. Not really. I drifted, half aware, half listening, my senses brushing lightly against the others, not connecting, just tracking. Reyna's restless pacing, Daniel's steady presence at the perimeter, Liam's constant awareness, sharp and precise, even in stillness. Kai was a void, at the edge of everything, until he wasn't. The first thing I felt was pressure, not physical, instinctive, like the air itself, tightening. Then, movement, fast, multiple. My eyes snapped open. They're here, Liam said quietly, from somewhere in the dark. Of course he was already awake. Daniel's voice followed, low and urgent. North side. At least 10, no, more. Reyna swore under her breath. That's not a scouting party. Kai was already moving. He didn't shout, didn't hesitate. He stepped forward, into the open space between us and the broken fence. Alpha instinct, front line, center. The worst place to be. Shapes emerged from the darkness. Too many, a large pack. Organized, tight formation. They moved like a single intent, not individuals. Their alpha stepped forward, and everything shifted. I felt it hit like a wave. Pressure, dominance, raw, overwhelming command. It wasn't aimed at me. It didn't have to be. It flooded the space, pressing down on every instinct that recognized hierarchy, every piece of wolf that understood where it was supposed to stand. Reyna staggered slightly. What the? Daniel braced, teeth clenched. Liam's breath hitched, just once. And Kai froze, not completely, but enough. His shoulders locked. His stance shifted. Subtle, almost invisible. But I felt it. The pull, the instinct to yield, to recognize a stronger alpha, to fall into place. No, Kai said under his breath. The opposing alpha smiled. There it is, he said. You remember. Kai stepped forward anyway, forced, pushed against it. But the pressure increased, layered, focused. It wrapped around him like invisible chains. His breath hitched. His control slipped. I felt it, not through a bond, through absence, through the way everything around him strained to compensate. Reyna's aggression turned chaotic. Daniel's steadiness faltered. Liam's awareness fractured under the weight. We weren't just under attack. We were being reorganized. By force. Back down, the alpha called. This territory is not yours. Kai didn't answer. He couldn't. His jaw clenched so hard I thought it might crack. Don't, I whispered. Not to the enemy. To him. He didn't hear me. Or couldn't. The pressure slammed down harder. Kai's knee bent. Just slightly, barely noticeable. But it was enough. No, I stepped forward. Reached, not carefully this time. Not gently. Everything. All at once. I pulled the threads together. Reyna's fire. Daniel's resolve. Liam's precision. My own rhythm. And I forced alignment. Not over Kai. Around him. Through him. Take it, I said. Voice low. Steady. Don't fight it alone. The connection snapped into place. Not clean, not perfect, but real. The pressure hit all of us at once. Reyna gasped, her hand flying to her chest. Daniel staggered, but stayed upright. Liam's fingers dug into the metal beside him, eyes wide. And Kai Kai inhaled sharply. The weight didn't disappear. It spread across all of us, shared, distributed, manageable. His knee straightened, slowly, deliberately. The opposing alpha's smile faltered. What? He started. Kai lifted his head. For the first time since the pressure hit, his gaze was clear. Not alone, never alone. He took a step forward. This time, nothing pulled him back. The connection held, rough, strained, burning at the edges. But it held. Now, I said, we moved. Together, Reyna hit the left flank with controlled aggression instead of chaos. Daniel anchored the center, absorbing impact without breaking. Liam anticipated movements before they happened, feeding that awareness through the connection. Kai fought like himself, but stronger. Not because he had more power, because he wasn't carrying everything alone. The enemy pack faltered. Their alpha pushed harder, trying to reassert control. It didn't work. The pressure spread again, across all of us, and we held. The fight turned, fast. Within minutes, they were retreating, confused, disoriented. Their alpha stared at us, something like disbelief flickering across his face. This isn't... he began. No, I said, breath unsteady. It's not... He backed away. And then they were gone. The yard fell silent again, except for breathing. Mine, theirs, too loud, too fast. I dropped the connection. Immediately, the relief was instant and jarring. Everyone staggered slightly, adjusting back to themselves. Reyna let out a shaky laugh. Okay, I hate that. Daniel wiped a hand over his face. That was intense. Liam was staring at Kai. So was I. Kai stood in the center of the yard, still, breathing hard, but upright, unaffected, not broken, not bent. For a moment, he didn't move. Then, he turned to me. What did you do? He asked quietly. I swallowed. I didn't remove the pressure. I know. I spread it. His gaze sharpened. You made them feel it. Yes. Silence. Then, I wasn't alone, he said. Not a question. Not disbelief. A realization. Something shifted in his expression. Not fully, not obviously, but enough. For the first time since I met him, the emptiness wasn't absolute. It had edges now, defined, touched by something else. Reyna walked past him, shaking her head. If that's what your pack feels like, we're going to need better recovery plans. Liam didn't move. It's inefficient, he said, but effective. Daniel nodded slowly. We held. Kai looked at me again, long, careful. You can't do that all the time, he said. No, I admitted. Not yet. He considered that. Then. Good. I blinked. Good? If you could, he said. We'd rely on it. There it was again. That fear. Dependency. I smiled faintly. Relax, I said. I don't plan on carrying you. His mouth twitched. Good. A pause. Then, quieter. But. Don't stop. Something warm settled in my chest. Not victory. Not trust. But close. Because that was the first time he asked for it. Even if he didn't realize it. And that was how packs were built. Not by force. Not by instinct. By moments like this. When someone who had every reason to stand alone didn't. Morning came too quietly. No sirens. No retaliation. No second wave. Just pale light spilling over rusted metal, and a group of wolves who had survived something they didn't fully understand. That was almost worse. Reyna sat on an overturned crate, rolling her shoulder like she was trying to shake something loose under the skin. Daniel stood near the perimeter again, posture steady but distant. Liam hadn't moved much since dawn. Still on the same crate, tablet untouched, eyes fixed somewhere between me and Kai like he was running calculations no one else could see. Kai hadn't slept, not even close. He stood near the edge of the yard, facing outward, as if the night might come back and try again if he stopped watching it. I leaned against a container, arms folded, trying to ignore the low hum still lingering in my nerves. The connection had ended hours ago. But the echo hadn't. Something's wrong, Liam said. Of course, he was the one to say it first. Raina snorted. We almost got crushed by a pack twice our size. Yeah, something's wrong. That's not what I mean. Liam looked at me, not accusing, not yet, just precise. We're not reacting normally. Kai's head turned slightly. I straightened. Define normally, I said. Liam gestured toward Raina. She didn't charge ahead alone during the fight. Raina frowned. She stopped. I was about to. But you didn't, Liam said. He pointed at Daniel. You absorbed impact from 3 angles without shifting position. Daniel blinked. I knew where they were. You didn't see them, Liam said. I didn't need to. His gaze shifted to Kai. And you, Liam said quietly. Didn't break. Silence fell. Kai's expression hardened. I don't break, he said. Liam didn't argue. He didn't need to. We had all seen it. That half second, that moment when the pressure almost took him down. And what came after, you should have, Liam continued. Under that level of dominance pressure, without a pack, an alpha, any alpha, would have bent. Kai's jaw tightened. I didn't. No, Liam said. You didn't. His eyes moved back to me. That's the problem. There it was. The shift. From observation to suspicion. I pushed off the container slowly. Say what you're thinking, I said. I am, Liam replied. You didn't just align us. I held his gaze. No, he said. You changed how we function. Raina scoffed. Oh, come on. He boosted us. That's what he does. That's not what that was, Liam said. Daniel looked between us. It felt different. Because it was shared. I said, because it was structural, Liam corrected. Kai stepped forward. The air shifted instantly. What did you do? He asked. His voice was low, controlled, dangerous. I exhaled slowly. I told you, I said. I spread the pressure. You did more than that. I didn't force anything. You didn't just connect us, he said. There it was. The line, the accusation. I didn't force it, I repeated. You rewrote it. The words landed hard, not loud, but heavy. I felt it in my chest like a second heartbeat. I didn't rewrite anything, I said, more quietly now. Kai took another step closer. You made it so we didn't respond to dominance the way we should. Maybe the way you should is the problem. His eyes flashed. That's not your decision. I didn't decide anything, I shot back. I gave you a way to not collapse under someone else's control. That's not how packs work. Exactly. Silence. Tight. Sharp. Raina shifted uncomfortably. Okay. Are we seriously arguing about not getting crushed? You don't get it, Kai said without looking at her. No, she snapped. I do. I get that we're alive. You're alive because he interfered. I'm alive because I fought. You fought inside something he built. Her mouth opened, then closed, because she had felt it too. We all had. Daniel spoke carefully. Nick, when you connected us. I didn't connect you, I said. You did, he insisted. But it wasn't just coordination. It was something else. Shared load, I said. Shared instinct, Liam corrected. I looked at him. He wasn't guessing. He was certain. You altered the response loop, he said. Dominance didn't land on one individual. It distributed across the group. That's not synchronization. I didn't answer, because he was right. I just hadn't said it out loud yet. Kai's voice cut through the silence. What else can you change? I hesitated. Wrong move. His gaze sharpened instantly. What else? He repeated. I don't know. I said, you don't know? I've never done it at this scale before. That's not an answer. It's the truth. His expression shifted. Not anger. Not exactly. Something worse. Fear, not of me, of losing control. You're experimenting, he said. No. You are. I'm adapting. You're changing what we are. I'm helping you survive. At what cost? The question hung between us, heavy, unanswered. Raina looked between us. This is insane. We just proved we can take on stronger packs. And become something they don't understand. Kai cut in. That's the point, I said. No. He said sharply. That's the danger. His voice dropped. Quiet. Cold. I lost a pack once, he said, because something changed. Because something stopped working the way it should. The air went still. This wasn't anger anymore. This was memory. You think I'm going to let that happen again? He asked. I shook my head. This isn't the same. You don't know that. I do. How? Because I'm not breaking you. I said. I'm giving you a choice. His jaw tightened. That's not what it feels like. That hit. Because I hadn't thought about it that way. From his side. From inside it. It feels like losing control. He said. You never had control, I said before I could stop myself. Silence. Absolute. Then. Careful, he said. Too quiet. Too calm. I swallowed. That's not what I meant. It is. No, I said. I meant. You meant I was already broken. I meant. You were alone. I chose that. Because you thought it was the only way. It is. No, I said, stepping closer. It's just the only way you trust. His eyes darkened. Trust gets people killed. So does isolation. I'm still here. Barely. That did it. The last thread snapped. Kai stepped back. Not retreating. Withdrawing. From me. From all of us. This isn't a pack. He said. I didn't answer. You said, no hierarchy, he continued. No control. That's still true. Then why does it feel like I'm being rewritten? Because you are. I didn't say it. I couldn't. I'm not forcing anything. I said instead. That doesn't mean you're not changing it. He turned away. That was worse than if he'd shouted. I'm not doing this, he said. Raina frowned. Doing what? This, he gestured sharply. Whatever this is. It's working, she said. It's unstable. Everything is unstable. Not like this. He started walking. Toward the edge of the yard. Toward the exit. My chest tightened. You're leaving, I said. It wasn't a question. He didn't stop. Yes. Liam's voice cut in. Calm and precise. If you go, the structure weakens. Kai didn't look back. Then, it wasn't strong to begin with. Daniel stepped forward. We need. You don't need me, Kai said. The words landed like a blade. Because that was the point. That was what I had built. A system that didn't rely on one center. But that didn't mean it didn't matter when someone left. Kai, I said. He paused. Just for a second. Not enough to turn. Don't do this alone again. I said quietly. Silence. Then. That's the only way I know how. And he walked away. Out of the yard. Out of the structure. Out of whatever we had started building. The space he left behind felt wrong, not empty, worse, unbalanced. Raina swore under her breath. Daniel exhaled slowly. Liam watched the exit, eyes distant. I stood still, feeling the threads strain. Not break, not yet, but close. He'll come back, Raina said. I didn't answer, because for the first time since I met him, I wasn't sure. The yard felt bigger after he left. Not physically, but structurally, like something that had been holding tension together had snapped, and now everything was drifting, just slightly, just enough to notice if you knew what it used to feel like. We didn't talk about it at first. That was our specialty. Raina trained harder. Daniel reinforced the perimeter like we were expecting a war. Liam watched, and I reached, out of habit, out of instinct, out of something deeper than both. The threads were still there. Raina's fire, Daniel's steadiness, Liam's precision. But the alignment, the rhythm, it stuttered, missed beats, small delays, nothing dramatic, just enough to feel wrong, like breathing half a second too late. I exhaled slowly, leaning against the same container I had claimed as my unofficial thinking spot. This is annoying, I muttered. Because it's failing, Liam said. I glanced at him. He hadn't moved, still sitting, still observing, still dissecting everything like we were an equation he hadn't solved yet. It's not failing, I said. It's destabilizing. Temporary. Predictable. I pushed off the container. You always this encouraging? Only when accuracy demands it. Raina walked past us, wiping sweat from her forehead. If you two start flirting like that, I'm leaving too. We're not flirting, Liam said. Disappointing, I replied. Daniel approached, slower, more careful. We're out of sync, he said. I know, not like before. I know. He hesitated. Is it because of him? I didn't answer. Because, yes, obviously, yes. Liam did it for me. You built this around him, he said. The words were quiet, clean, precise. I shook my head immediately. No, yes, no, I repeated, sharper now. I built it around choice. Liam's eyes didn't leave mine. Then why does it weaken when he leaves? Because he's part of it. He's the center of it. He's not, I said. You want that to be true. It is true. Then prove it. Silence. That was the problem. I couldn't, not yet, because something about Kai, something about the way he existed inside the system, wasn't just structural. It was anchoring, and I hated that, because that wasn't what I wanted to build. Raina dropped onto a crate with a grunt. Look, I don't care about your philosophical crisis. We either fix this, or we get picked apart the next time someone shows up. Daniel nodded. We need stability. Liam added. Or we collapse. I looked at them, at all of them, and felt it. The absence, not just of Kai, of what he had started to become inside the structure. A reference point, a tension line, a contradiction that made everything else hold. I swallowed. I can fix it, I said. How? Raina asked. I recalibrate. Liam's gaze sharpened. Without him? Yes. Risky. Everything is. He tilted his head slightly. Then do it. I closed my eyes. Reached. Carefully this time. No force. No sudden alignment. Just adjustment. Raina's rhythm pulled into Daniel's steadiness. Liam's awareness threaded through both. I anchored it with my own timing, trying to recreate the balance we had before. It worked, sort of. The rhythm returned, but weaker, less stable, like a structure missing a load-bearing wall. I opened my eyes. See? I said. Liam didn't look convinced. Temporary. Raina flexed her hands. Feels off. Daniel nodded. Not complete. I exhaled. Yeah, I knew. Kai didn't come back that night, or the next morning, or the day after, and the longer he stayed gone, the more the structure strained, not breaking, but pulling, like something was stretched too far in one direction. And I felt it, every second, the emptiness where he had been, the absence that wasn't just space, but impact. I hated it. I hated that it mattered. I hated that Liam might be right. You're distracted, Liam said, on the third day. No, I'm not. You are. I'm thinking. You're compensating. I rubbed my face. Do you ever stop analyzing people? No. Tragic. He leaned back slightly. You're waiting. I'm not. You are. I dropped my hand. Even if I am, that doesn't change anything. It changes everything. Not this time. Then stop looking at the entrance every 5 minutes. I didn't respond. Because. Fine. Maybe the first was. It was late afternoon when the shift happened. Not subtle. Not quiet. Immediate. I felt it before I saw him. The structure snapped back into place. Clean. Sharp. Whole. My head turned toward the entrance. Raina stood up instantly. Daniel straightened. Liam didn't move, but his attention sharpened like a blade. Kai stepped into the yard. Same coat. Different posture. Not guarded. Not withdrawn. Something else. Something. Decided. He stopped a few steps inside. No one spoke. Because this mattered. More than any fight. More than territory. More than strategy. This was the moment everything either held or broke completely. Kai's gaze moved across all of us. Reyna, Daniel, Liam, then me, and for the first time since he left, he didn't look like he was pulling away. He looked like he was choosing. "I'm not coming back as an alpha," he said. No hesitation, no uncertainty, just fact. The words settled into the space between us. Heavy, important. Reyna raised an eyebrow. Good. That would have been awkward. Daniel exhaled slowly, tension easing from his shoulders. Liam watched Kai with open interest now. "Then what are you?" Kai didn't answer him. He looked at me, waiting. I felt something in my chest loosen, not relief, something deeper, something steadier. "Good," I said. A beat, then Kai nodded once, and stepped fully into the yard. The structure settled, not the same as before, stronger, because this time, it wasn't instinct, it wasn't pressure, it wasn't something I had built alone, it was choice, his, and that changed everything, because now, he wasn't part of the system because he had to be, he was part of it because he chose to stay, and that was something no pack had ever been built on before, not like this, not like us. They came at dusk. Of course they did. Big packs always preferred the moment when light and shadow argued over who was in charge. It made them look larger, more myth than muscle. Liam saw them first. "West approach," he said. "Already moving. 15, no, closer to 20. Reyna grinned like someone had just handed her a problem she could punch. Finally, Daniel took position without a word, grounding the center of the yard like he had always been meant to stand there. And Kai didn't move to the front. He stepped in, between us, not leading, not following, part of it. My chest tightened. Not fear, not this time. Something sharper, clearer. "They're coordinated," Liam said. "Better than the last group." "Of course they are," I replied. "We're a threat now." The opposing pack moved into the open, tight formation, disciplined. Their alpha stepped forward, older than the last one. Heavier presence, stronger control. His eyes swept across us, assessing. Then he smiled. "You're the ones causing problems." "Depends," I said. "Define problems." "Unstable structure, disruption of territory balance, refusal to submit." I tilted my head. "Yeah, that sounds like us." His gaze landed on Kai. Recognition flashed. "Varen," he said, "you found yourself a new pack." Kai didn't respond, didn't step forward, didn't take the center. "Good." The alpha's smile faded slightly. "You're not leading them?" Kai's voice was calm. "No." The word hit the space like a crack in something old. The opposing pack shifted. Confusion. Tiny. But there, because without a visible alpha, there was no obvious target, no clear hierarchy to break. I felt it, the moment before impact, the breath, before everything changed. "Nick," Liam said quietly. "I know." I stepped forward, not ahead, into alignment, and reached, not searching, not forcing, inviting. Reyna answered first. Sharp, eager, ready. Daniel, steady, grounded, unshakable. Liam, precise, aware, already mapping the fight before it began. And Kai, this time, there was no emptiness, not a bond, not a thread, a choice. He stepped into it, fully. The connection snapped into place. Clean, complete, no strain, no hesitation, no center. We moved, not as 5 wolves, not as roles, as a system. The opposing pack surged forward. Their alpha's pressure hit like a wave, and broke, not against Kai, not against me, across all of us. Shared, neutralized, their formation tightened, trying to compensate. Too late. Reyna hit the flank exactly when Daniel anchored the center. Liam shifted us half a step before a strike landed, turning impact into absence. Kai didn't lead the charge. He was inside it, where he needed to be. No hesitation, no isolation. His movements didn't pull focus, they completed it. The enemy pack faltered. Their alpha barked a command. It didn't land. There was nowhere for it to land. No single wolf to dominate. No hierarchy to break. Only movement. Only response. Only us. Perfect timing. Perfect alignment. No center. They tried to regroup. We didn't let them. Daniel absorbed force that would have broken a lone wolf. Reyna redirected aggression into openings Liam had already calculated. I held the rhythm steady, adjusting microseconds, keeping everything together. Kai moved through it like he had always belonged there, like he had never been alone. The fight didn't feel like violence. It felt like inevitability. One by one, the opposing wolves fell back, not defeated, outmatched, not by strength, by something they didn't understand. Their alpha stepped back last, breathing hard, eyes locked on us. "What are you?" he demanded. Silence. Rain started again, light at first, then steady. I stepped forward. Not alone. Never alone. "Someone who doesn't need a throne," I said. He stared at us for one long second. Then, he nodded. "Sharp respect. Or something close enough." "Then you're not a pack," he said. I smiled slightly. "No," I said. "We're not." He turned and left. The rest followed. Just like that. The yard went quiet again. No tension. No pressure. Just breathing. Reyna laughed first. Sharp and bright. "Okay, that was insane." Daniel exhaled slowly, tension draining from his shoulders. We held. Liam was already analyzing, eyes distant. They couldn't establish control points. No hierarchy to exploit. Kai stood still for a moment, then looked at me, not questioning, not resisting, understanding. "Good," he said. I huffed a quiet laugh. "That's it? That's all I get?" "For now." Harsh. He stepped closer, close enough that I could see the last of the tension leaving his shoulders, close enough that I could feel, not a bond, not something forced, something chosen. "You were right," he said. I blinked. "About this?" He gestured around us. At Reyna, arguing with Daniel about perimeter adjustments. At Liam already rewriting something in his head. At the space that didn't belong to anyone, and somehow belonged to all of us. "This works," he said. I smiled. "Yeah," I said softly. "It does." A pause. Then, "You're still annoying," he added. "Consistency is important." His mouth twitched. There it was again, that almost smile. And this time, it stayed. I looked around the yard, at the broken structures, at the wolves who had chosen to stand here, together, not because they had to, because they wanted to, and for the first time, it felt complete, not perfect, not stable, not safe, but real, something new. Something that didn't exist before we decided it should. I exhaled slowly and let the rhythm settle. Because this was the point. Not power, not control, not dominance. Choice, always choice. And that was something no one could take from us. Not anymore. They didn't bother with subtlety. No scouting party. No probing attack. No polite warnings dressed up as territorial negotiations. They came like a verdict. I felt them before I saw them. Pressure building at the edges of the yard, the air tightening with layered instinct, authority, expectation, not one alpha this time. Several, a coalition. Liam went still beside me. They adapted. "Of course they did," I said. "We embarrassed them." Reyna cracked her knuckles, grin sharp. "Good." Daniel exhaled slowly, grounding himself. "Positions?" Kai didn't answer. He didn't step forward. He stepped in. That mattered. It changed everything. "They're going to try to force structure," Liam said. "Multiple dominance points. Rotating pressure. Break it," I said. "How?" I smiled faintly. "By not having one." The first line of wolves emerged from the shadows of the broken containers, then more behind them. Not chaotic, not aggressive in the way of street fights. Disciplined, strategic, dangerous. Their lead alpha, older, scarred, eyes like cold steel, stopped just outside the yard. His gaze swept over us, paused, frowned. You, he said. You're the anomaly. I get that a lot, I replied. His attention shifted to Kai, recognition, then confusion. You stand with them, he said. Kai's voice was steady. Yes. You don't lead them. No. A ripple went through their formation. Tiny, but real, because hierarchy demands clarity, and we weren't giving them any. The Alpha's gaze sharpened. Then what are you? Kai didn't answer. He didn't need to, because I stepped forward. Not alone, never alone. And reached, not like before, not tentative, not careful, complete. Reina's aggression, Daniel's stability, Liam's precision, and Kai's presence, not emptiness, not resistance, presence, chosen, the connection ignited, clean, immediate, whole, no strain, no hesitation, no center. I didn't anchor it. I didn't control it. I held the space where it could exist. Now, I said, they attacked, not in waves, all at once. Multiple alphas pushing dominance from different angles, trying to fracture us, force someone, anyone, into submission. It didn't land. There was nowhere for it to land. The pressure hit and spread across all of us, dissolved. Reina moved first. No, we moved first. Her strike hitting the left flank exactly as Daniel absorbed a direct assault in the center. Liam shifted our positioning before the enemy adjusted, creating openings where there should have been none, and Kai didn't stand above it, didn't stand ahead of it. He moved through it. A perfect part of the system. Every strike he made aligned with someone else's movement. Every defense he took reinforced another position. No wasted motion, no isolation, no delay. Perfect timing, perfect response, perfect trust. The opposing pack faltered. Their alpha barked orders, sharp, commanding, reinforced by instinct. It didn't matter. Their structure depended on control, on hierarchy, on pressure. Finding a target, we didn't have one. They tried to isolate Reina. Daniel was already there. They tried to overwhelm Daniel. Kai redirected the force. They tried to flank Liam. I shifted us before it happened. Every move they made, we were already adjusting, already aligned, already there. The fight didn't feel like chaos. It felt like inevitability, like they were moving through a pattern we had already written. One by one, their wolves started to fall back, not injured, not broken, disoriented, disconnected. Their alpha stepped forward again, pushing harder. The pressure spiked. For a second, just a second, it hit hard, enough to test the edges, enough to remind us what this could feel like. Alone. Kai's breath caught, not collapsing, not bending, but remembering. I felt it, and didn't pull it away. I spread it, shared it, and this time, he didn't fight it. He let it pass through, across all of us, and we held. The moment broke. Their alpha stepped back. Something like understanding flickered across his face. Not acceptance, not agreement, recognition. This, he said slowly, isn't strength. I stepped forward. Rain slid down my face, cold and clean. No, I said. It's not. He looked at all of us, at the absence of hierarchy, at the way we stood. Not behind anyone, not beneath anyone. Together. What are you? He asked. The question hung in the air, heavy, real. I could have said a lot of things. Could have explained, defined, justified. Instead, I smiled slightly. Someone who doesn't need a throne. Silence. Then, Kai stepped forward, not to take the lead, to stand beside me. He looked at the opposing alpha, then at me, and something in his expression settled. Good, he said. The other alpha studied us for one long moment, then nodded once, sharp, decisive, and turned away. His pack followed. No challenge, no second attempt, just withdrawal. The yard went quiet again. Rain filled the space they left behind. Raina let out a breath that turned into a laugh. Okay. I'm officially sold. Daniel rubbed the back of his neck. We didn't overpower them. No, Liam said quietly. We outstructured them. I exhaled slowly, letting the connection fade. This time, it didn't snap. It settled, like something that knew how to exist now. Kai stayed where he was. Close, not pulled in, not held. Present. You're still annoying, he said. I smiled. Consistency matters. His mouth twitched. And this time, it stayed. I looked at all of them, at the broken yard, at the structure we had built out of nothing but refusal and stubbornness. No hierarchy, no dominance, no forced roles, just choice. Always choice. And, for the first time, it felt like enough.